This morning I put out a video about Idex where I outlined the catalysts behind the recent move in share price. And at the end of that video, I said that I would be dropping 2 more videos, of which one of them would be focusing on all of the risks that are involved in investing or even trading Ideanomics stock. As promised, in this video, I'll be going over all of the major risks that you're taking whenever buying shares of this company. You're definitely not going to want to miss this, so stick around because we're going to be starting right now. Hey, what's going on? It's Pat from Top Ticker Trades. If this is your first time here and you want to learn how to grow your wealth through investing and trading stocks in the market, make sure you start right now by subscribing and tapping that bell so you never miss a thing. I'll see you in the video. Let's go. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to yet another Idex video. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Idex stock, but instead of talking about all of the positives, we're going to be taking a look at the negatives. Specifically, I'm going to be doing the opposite of what other YouTubers are doing right now by telling you why and how you could lose money by investing in this company. But I'm going to be going beyond the obvious reasons and sharing information with you that I've acquired over the years through trading this exact stock. Normally, when I do videos like this, people get butthurt and they want to dislike the video and leave negative comments. But most of the time, it's people that are holding the shares that know that I'm telling them the truth, but they're afraid that the video will have a negative impact on the share price. Let me just say that I have an obligation to report the fact. And as I published a video earlier today, which covered the stock from a bullish standpoint, it is my responsibility to provide all my subscribers and viewers with the information that they need in order to make a rational decision, which means that the negatives have to be reported as well. That being said, instead of just giving you part of the story, I want to bring you the entire picture. So if you're one of the ones that are upset about me making this video, you should take comfort in the fact that this video will have very little impact on the share price, as there's tons of YouTubers making bullish videos on Idex stock right now, and you can expect to see more YouTubers moving in, especially with the type of volume that this stock sees. But before we get started, if you appreciate my honesty and the fact that I'm going against the crowd to provide you with information that you can rely on, please do me a huge favor and take a quick moment to give this video an early thumbs up, as these videos do take a lot of time and effort for me to put together and get out to you guys. Also, if you're not part of the family already, I'd love for you to join our growing family. I want to personally invite you to do that. Now, it doesn't cost you a dime. All you have to do is simply hit that subscribe button, but make sure you tap that bell so you're notified every time I drop a new video. And let me just tell you, if you're wanting to learn how to use stocks and options to grow your account and ultimately increase your net worth, this is the channel for you. So now, without any further ado, let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that if you have any doubt about what I'm telling you today, then all you have to do is go through some of my previous videos and you'll see that my track record is actually pretty solid. So now let's talk about Idex. Here's a cool fact that I bet most of you don't know about Idex. Idex was incorporated in the state of Nevada on October 19th, 2004. I don't have any information that I can find as to what the company was doing from 2004 through 2010. But from 2010 through 2017, the company's primary business activities were to provide premium content video on-demand services. So these services were offered in China, and in 2017 is when the company started transitioning towards fintech, and in 2019 is when this actual video on-demand services company was closed. What I want to make very clear and what I want everybody to understand is that this is a high reward, high risk stock. There are tons of safer plays and investments out there, so if you're just looking for a decent return without having to take on the risks of trading or investing in a penny stock, you should probably consider one of those. Now, obviously, with this being a penny stock, we can expect all of the risks that are associated with trading penny stocks. There's share dilution, manipulation, and a lot of debt with very little income, meaning that the company could go bankrupt at any time. Now, again, all of these risks that I just mentioned are associated with all penny stocks and not just Idex. However, it doesn't make investing in the company any safer. So the problem with share dilution is that with penny stocks, there's almost always a need for share dilution. Of course, this is the case because these companies don't make a lot of money, so they need to dilute your shares in order to survive, and Idex is no different. But what really sucks about share dilution, though, is that it'll almost always occur after the company's share price has a decent move to the upside. And this, of course, has to do with the company wanting to take advantage of the higher share price. Now, with that being said, if you're trading rather than investing for the long term, then you probably don't really give a crap about what happens to the company in the long term. You're wanting to get your money right now. So what sucks for someone that's trading is that if they fail to act fast or decide to hold in anticipation of the stock going up some more, you take a big loss because the company decided to do a share offering while you were holding. And then not only does that dilute the shares, but you're also probably going to see a sell-off due to this announcement. Now, I will say this about dilution, though. From what we've seen or what we've been seeing in the market lately, the trend seems to be that everyone buys up the shares when the company announces that the offering has been closed. But that doesn't guarantee that you're going to recover all of your gains, at least not that fast. To give you an example of Idex doing this or diluting their shares, back on June 23rd, Idex filed a mixed shelf registration to raise $250 million, which pretty much came after shares surged due to them announcing that they had an order for 200 electric vehicles in China. Now, as I said earlier, dilution should be expected, and especially after a run-up. But in this case, we're talking about major dilution, as their market cap was only around $500 million at the time. So in other words, we're talking about dilution that's equal to about half of their market cap, which is insane. But let's now talk about stock manipulation, which was on my list of risks for penny stocks in general, but is most certainly a risk for Idex stock. Now, there are two types of manipulation that I'm going to cover today, because Idex has been influenced by both of these in the past. So the first type that I will mention is more common than the second, and is what I would consider to be a pump and dump. While I'm not going to mention any names here, I will say that there are a number of influencers that will regularly pump and dump penny stocks on social media platforms. One of the most common ones that I've come across is Twitter. And there's literally, there are influencers with hundreds of thousands of followers, and pretty much they're doing this to make a profit. So the way this works is generally they're going to take a position long before they start pumping this stock. And after they've taken their position, they're going to start pumping. And they'll continue to pump. They'll usually use some catalyst that they're going to come up with, which will be an event that's coming up in the future. Now, this can be earnings, this could be an interview, I mean, literally anything. Anything that's coming up in the near future, they're gonna use it to pump this stock up and promise the world to pretty much unsuspecting followers. So if you've ever heard, buy the rumor, sell the news, that's pretty much what this is referring to. Now, I've done several videos in the past on specific stocks while they were getting pumped, pretty much warning everybody. And a lot of times people just get pissed off and, they want to leave negative comments and dislike the videos. But then later on, they come back and subscribe because they figure out that they were the ones that were wrong. And I've done videos several times, or I've done several videos on the same stocks because I just see them continue to get pumped. It's like they'll get pumped, they'll get dumped, and then they're getting pumped again, and people are buying in again, falling for the same trick over and over and over. So I just want to make you aware of all that. I also want to point out that just because this is going on with a stock, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad company or a bad stock. It just means that people are taking advantage of it to make some money. It does, however, mean that you can lose money if you're not able to recognize what's going on. So keep that in mind. Another thing that I'm sure has probably crossed some of your minds, or a question that you may have, is, well, if these stocks get pumped and dumped over and over again, then there really may not be too much risk, because I can just sit there if it gets dumped on me and wait until it's pumped again, which it's true, but there's no guarantee that the stock will get pumped again, or that it will even get pumped back to back. And you never know where the stock price will end up when it gets dumped. You don't know how low it's actually going to go, and it can get pumped again but not return to the point where you bought in. And those are all the risks. Sometime around a year ago, poor Alf, and I know I said that backwards, but anyhow, he had an interview on Twitter with one of the major Twitter influencers. So some of you may actually remember this if you were trading stocks back then, or trading penny stocks. But it seemed like everyone on Twitter was actually referring to this interview as some major catalyst that was going to make Idex shares rocket. But instead, do you want to know what happened? Instead, during the actual interview, the stock tanked like hard. So rather than taking it for what it was, a lot of these people actually tried to say that the stock tanked because the influencer dressed casually and he wasn't wearing a tie for the interview. Now, I am going to comment on all of this and give you my opinion, but first I do want to make it through both types of stock manipulation that I mentioned. Now, the second type is going to be short sellers, and I don't mean that, people are just short selling the stock. What I mean by that is that a short seller or a short seller firm comes out and publicly announces that they're shorting a stock and maybe puts out a short report. So obviously this happened to Idex, or I wouldn't be bringing it up. Sometime around June, I want to say June the 28th, I did put a video out about it. But long story short, I went through the short report that this short seller put out. It was actually Hindenburg Research, which is supposed to be one of the more reputable research firms. It's actually just one guy named Nathan Anderson. He also goes by Nate Anderson. And I found no merit to anything that he put out in that report. So basically, I made a video on the topic and then put it out. Now, back then, or around that time, I believe I made several different videos about him specifically, just kind of roasting him because he was putting out a lot of bogus information. But if you'll ever take a look at these short seller reports and what they're doing, you'll see that most of them are bogus and pretty much full of bogus information, and the stocks recover pretty quickly. But it is a different story, or tends to be a different story, with penny stocks, and that's because penny stocks tend to be a lot more risky than a stock of a company that's already established and doing something. With that being said, Idex pretty much tanked on the report that came out of Hindenburg, and even though there was really no merit to it, Idex had a very hard time recovering. Also, Alf Poor took longer than expected, or longer than people were expecting, to reply to basically Nate Anderson, which kind of killed the momentum off a little bit. And then all the pumpers also moved on to something that was easier to pump, since this was giving them trouble. And from there on, we saw that Idex remained kind of stagnant for a while, just having small moves up and down here and there, but nothing significant. And then just recently we saw that it moved quite a bit, and here we are now. So here are my thoughts on all of this. So I'm in the stock market to make money, okay? I buy stocks to make money. I have my long-term plays, and those are going to be the companies that I believe in. Some of them may be a little speculative, but normally they're going to be companies that I see a lot of potential in. Now, with Idex, it's an extremely speculative company. Like I've been telling you guys, it's a penny stock. I don't really trust penny stocks. I mean, I very rarely will hold penny stocks. I normally just trade them. I don't even like swing trading them, but it depends on what the market is doing at the time. And the type of market that we're in right now seems to not give a crap about anything except whether or not the stock is an actual EV company, or in the EV sector, I'm sorry. So if the stock is in the EV sector, it seems that it's going to fly no matter what. And given just a tiny tad bit of news, it's going to just immediately go parabolic. At least that's how things have been going so far for just about every single stock in the EV sector. So with that being said, we've seen moves out of Solo, we've seen Arrow make a move, we've seen FCell, we've seen CBAT. I mean, we've seen all these penny stocks that have literally gone parabolic, okay? Which is exactly why, and I can't remember if it was in this video or the one I just put out about Idex, that I was talking about looking for laggers in the market, or laggers in this specific sector. And I was fortunate enough to come up on Idex before it really made its initial move this go around. But because it's such a cheap stock and hasn't, made a move significant enough to really take it out of penny land yet, you're still going to have a lot of people that are going to be buying it just because it's super cheap. So when they're looking at it and they see that it's $2 or $3, even $4 and $5, to them that's super cheap. They're going to continue buying. And that's why I see, this stock going to about $5 in the short term, and possibly $10 even, if we see anything like what we've seen out of some of these others, and it's very likely. So because of this is why I wouldn't be afraid to, take a position in this, but I'm not taking any kind of crazy position. Now, I've already traded a little bit of this stock just recently when I told you that I ran up on it. But this is a stock that, I'm specifically wanting to play for that big move. So to me, it only makes sense to, if I'm going to risk my money by putting it into a stock that's got a lot of uncertainty in it, that's very speculative, like a penny stock, I'm doing that because I know, or because I reasonably believe that there could be a potentially huge move coming, a parabolic move. And let me be very clear that I'm basing this thesis that I have right now, that this stock will make a move, just based off of what we've seen out of stocks like Solo and Arrow and the rest of the penny stocks that I mentioned earlier. But let me again tell you guys that any amount of money I'm putting into this stock is money that I am comfortable losing. I want you guys to be the exact same way. You got to look at your risk versus reward. So in this case, the downside, it's not very much. I don't plan on this stock going all the way down to zero, like I said before, which means that the most I can lose is around $3 or whatever it is right now. And the upside potential is significantly greater, as, if this stock were to go parabolic, and by that I just mean, to $10 even, then I'm making a lot more than I could possibly be losing. So that's what I'm looking at. That's how I decided, whether or not I'm going to take a position in this stock, and that's how I decided how large of a position I'm going to be taking into this stock. So those are all things that you guys need to take into consideration. Remember all of the risks that I mentioned, because they are very real and could happen at any time. Anytime that a stock runs up, there's that risk that, something's going to come after it, whether it's a short seller, whether it's, the company itself wanting to take advantage of the higher share price and diluting the shares. I mean, a million different things could be going on. So make sure that you're considering all of those things. Take your profits when you can, and never put more in than you can afford to lose. So I appreciate you guys checking out this video, especially if you stayed till the very end. You guys are going to be the ones that are going to be making all the money, because you guys care enough to stay and learn the entire lesson rather than just bits and pieces of it. So I do appreciate it, guys. Do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button if you haven't already. And if you haven't joined our growing family yet, make sure you do that, because I want you here.
Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, you've made it to the end of the video. If you found this video helpful, I ask that you help this channel out by smashing that like button, as it motivates me to keep making videos just like this one every single day. If you're not a subscriber, you should consider subscribing, as I publish valuable content like this daily. You can do so from your screen right now, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can click on the video that you'd like to see on your screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.